So with the Monday indictments against Donald Trump added to the 3 other indictments and the superseding indictments, so technically 4.5, indictment days, Donald Trump is now facing 91 different criminal charges. And thanks to the good folks out there on the internet who've done the math for us, those 91 criminal charges, if Donald Trump is convicted of every single one, and given the maximum prison sentence for every single charge against him, the former president of the United States would be looking at a total sentence in prison of 712 years and 6 months. But I think at that point, if you're serving 712 years, I don't think the additional 6 months really matters that much. But 712 and a half years in prison is the maximum sentence that Donald Trump is looking at. The Georgia indictments on Monday alone carry a potential maximum sentence of 71 and a half years. So I think it's safe to say that Donald Trump, if he's convicted of everything, or even if he's convicted of like half of it, or even if he's only convicted in Georgia of half the things, the guy's looking at a life sentence. I mean, let's face it, he's in his late 70s, he's like 78, maybe 77, I think, somewhere in there. So a 20-year prison sentence is a life sentence for Donald Trump, most likely. I think it's obvious that, one, he's not going to be convicted on every single count that he's been charged with. I think Judge Cannon down in South Florida is going to make certain of that. And he's also, if convicted, not going to get the maximum sentence for every single charge. In fact, most of the charges in all of the different indictments would likely be consolidated, and he would end up with a single sentence that would not be the sum total of all of the sentences from all the charges. I hope that makes sense, because that's typically how the criminal justice system works. You're not going to add like, okay, we'll give him the maximum for all this. You get 71 years here. Now you got 500 years down here. He's not going to spend centuries in prison. Mostly because he's not going to continue to live for centuries. None of us will. They're not just going to keep a rotting skeleton in a jail cell and say, you're going to finish this out. Not going to happen. Sorry. Mental image of that, kind of funny. But I think it is safe to say at this point that even a handful of convictions, and this is why this story is actually important, even a handful of convictions, even if it's just in Georgia or just with the January 6th charges against him, he's never leaving jail again. And the reason I bring that up is because given the jurisdiction where 3 out of 4 of these indictments happened, Fulton County, Washington, D.C., and Manhattan, excluding, of course, the ones down there in Trump-friendly South Florida, he's going to get convicted of something. Like, statistically, facing that many charges, statistically, he is going to get hit with something. A jury somewhere is going to find him guilty of at least one of those counts. And depending on which one of those counts it is, there's your life sentence. 3 or 4 of them, probably definitely getting a life sentence here. So that is why this is so important. I mean, especially considering the fact these trials are all going to take place next year. And here's what happens, by the way. If Donald Trump gets convicted, the judge will, of course, set a sentencing date. Sometimes those sentencing dates can be 6 months down the road. Sometimes they can be 2 weeks down the road. Very rarely in a high-profile case like this will a judge immediately issue a sentence right there. That's not going to happen. There will be some time for him to get his affairs in order. But he could be in prison by this time next year. And by this time next year, he might not only be in prison, he may be in prison for the rest of his life. This is monumental. And that's why I talked about the 712 and a half years, because these are big charges. This is real. Everything has gotten real now. This is no longer speculation. Oh, are we going to get indictments? We've got them. We see it. We see the numbers, and so does Donald Trump. He knows that he's facing the rest of his life, ending his days in a jail cell. Not in his swanky Manhattan apartment, not down at Mar-a-Lago, but in prison. So I expect, because of that information, I think Trump's going to become far more unhinged than he has ever been in the coming months as these trials approach. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.